Dan the Wheelman here. When it comes to the purity of motoring, just man or woman and machine and power and road and that's it, it doesn't get much more visceral or kind of on point than a muscle car. And muscle cars don't get much more gregarious or loud than the Dodge Challenger, especially when it's got the Scat Pack package to start and the wide body tune job as well. So we're gonna take this for a spin today. I can't wait. Hemi V8 power, rear wheel drive, hood scoop, big fenders, fat tires. Let's go. So I'd say it's slightly less old school in here than it is in a Mustang, for example. The gauges in the Challenger aren't quite so deeply recessed, and this display here, you don't have the three, kind of gauges on top, or the two gauges on top like you do in the Mustang. It's a little more kind of modern looking in here than it would be there, but maybe that's good. That's kind of a good differentiator for the Challenger. You've still got two analog gauges though, nice tack and all that kind of stuff. T-bar shaped shifter here, which I like, paddle shifters here too. This vehicle starts at about 50 grand, 52 grand thereabouts. The MSRP of this one in particular is 71 grand thereabouts, but the exact number on the screen here. That because it has a ton of features. You've got the wide body kit, which we'll talk a little bit more about in the next shots here, but that's going to put on $8,000. That's right, 8,000. You have this great Harman Kardon sound, 18 speaker Harman Kardon sound, which considering it only costs $4,495. That's not bad considering what you get for it. The Uconnect system with all the kind of GPS, all kind of stuff, Apple CarPlay, $795. So it all starts to add up after a while, but you can get a V8 powered Challenger for closer to 50 grand, which is great. And if you want to do away with all that kind of special stuff and you just want that super cool wide body package, you're still hovering around the $60,000 mark for that. So cool, totally okay with that. It's nice and roomy in here as well. This is quite a large vehicle. Great view out over the hood like a good muscle car should have. And I've also got the nice leather wrapped steering wheel here too. So it's nice in here. You've got some traditional buttons as well as the touchscreen. I like having a mix of both. Push button, start, stop, no surprise, some kind of faux carbon fiber. So it's definitely, it's a bit monochromatic, but that's cool. That's kind of how a muscle car should be. There There is a launch control system in the 2020 Dodge Challenger. To activate it, you can be on either sport or track here, and then all you do is hit activate launch control. It's going to hold the brake at 2300 RPM. It says here in my gauge cluster to launch. Press brake, which I'm doing right now, and quickly apply full throttle. So let's see what happens. Woo! That's what happens. That's launch control, and that is why muscle cars are awesome. So yes, Vancouver Canadians baseball hat on today, because this beauty is the pride of Brampton, Ontario in Canada. That's right, all Dodge Challengers and Chargers and Chrysler 300s are made in Canada. So I'm wearing the Canadians hat, because why not? Yeah, so 485 horsepower, 475 pound-feet of torque, and a great sound, which is perhaps the most important part of it all, because what's the point of having all that power if you can't make noise about it? And of course, this, as you would have seen from the clips earlier, is the wide body of the Dodge Challenger. That means 305 millimeter tires with 20-inch rims, as opposed to 245-inch tires or millimeter tires on non-wide body version of this car. And with the wide body package, which costs you $8,000, you also get adaptive suspension. I mentioned the rubber, different suspension tuning in general. You get a leather wrapped steering wheel here, so it's actually quite a performance add. Mostly in the corners, the power is the same here as you'd get from any other Challenger equipped with the 6.2 liter Hemi V8, which I've got here. So it's not about straight line speed so much as about adding more prowess, if you will, in the corner. Does it work? Yeah, yes, it definitely is more tractable than non-wide body Challenger, which I've also driven. It's grippier for sure, but the Challenger is still a very big car. Remember, it shares platform with the Charger and 300, both big full-size sedans, so there's only so much you could do to kind of hide all that heft, and as a result, there is still some, it seems, a bit of chassis infidelity here, especially over kind of left-right transitions. You feel a lot of like kind of up and down movement either way. It's kind of wobbly in that way. There's no frame on these doors, so the chassis fidelity does take a bit of a hit. It doesn't feel quite as taut necessarily as a Mustang, which is a smaller car, of course, and built from the ground up on its own proprietary platform, which can't be said here. So there's going to be some shortcomings that the engineers of the Challenger would have to deal with. This is still a very good handling vehicle. It's still confidence inspiring. It's still very the and holy moly, is it fast. It is really fast. I mean, we all know that the Challenger, there's the Hellcat version. For a while, there was the Demon version. I mean, there's 1,000 horsepower versions of this car. This is 485. I'm not going to say only 485 because that's still a good amount of power. And you can say it's still at its great straight line speed. Like, pickup is instantaneous. I have an 8-speed automatic transmission here. A purist will say you should have the stick shift. A stick shift is available, but it costs you $1,000 to get a stick shift in the Challenger. The automatic is actually the standard transmission. I mean, I think they probably the automatics outsell the manuals like 3-to-1. So, I mean, obviously, now there's various reasons for that, I would guess. One is that $1,000 cost to get a manual transmission. That's a deterrent. I'm not surprised to find that the automatic is the more popular option here. Plus, I've got paddle shifters here, which if I knock the shifter to the left here and downshift with, and you still get nice quick. And it's 8 speeds, so very close ratios as well, which gives you a lot of power to work with through the rev range. And plus, the 8 speeds, you get to get your Vin Diesel on from Fast and the Furious and like knock your automatic transmission up through a million different gears as if you're driving a manual too, which is great when you're driving a Dodge performance product. And plus, you've got the whole wide body thing. This is such an event, this vehicle. You're looking out over this huge hood. You got the huge wide fenders, which I'm actually surprised I can't see them from my seat position as much as I thought I would be able to, which I was kind of disappointed to find out, actually. But that's okay. Maybe if I was sitting a bit higher in my seat, I could, but then I'd be bumping against the headliner here, which we don't want. And you've got the great sound, which is, it's very addictive when it comes to the noise it can make, but it doesn't have, which is interesting, while it's got all sorts of ways to kind of like change the drivetrain. You can change the suspension, change the steering, throttle response, the automatic transmission, how the gears react, all that, how your traction control reacts. You can do all that through the SRT performance pages here. You can't, there's no loud or quiet exhaust as you find in not just the Mustang, but a lot of performance cars these days. I was just driving the BMW X5M. That has a loud exhaust button. The Jaguar F-Type has a loud exhaust button. The Bullet Mustang, or any Mustang has, not any, but the many Mustangs are available with the loud exhaust button. So to not have that option here, I guess, I don't know, is that a problem? If you don't want to wake the neighbors, if you want to be a polite Challenger owner, which, then maybe you'd want that. But otherwise, there's plenty of adjustability through here, and you've got like a line lock system, you've got a launch control system, which sends this baby flying down the road at a very, very quick pace. That is much more, and because it's got that noise, and because it's got the nice long hood ahead of you and the weight of it, it feels like it's got more power than 485 horse. That's for sure. So I'm, would it be nice to see 500 horse? I don't know. I guess you could say that. It'd be nice to get a company, especially since even if this were to make 500 horsepower, it's not like you're treading on the toes of the Hellcat, which makes like 700 horsepower. There's still a big gap there, enough of a gap to ensure that the Hellcat maintains its kind of specialness or whatever. So maybe another 50 horsepower would have been nice out of this, but it's not like this is a slow vehicle, as I've said a number of times during this little report here. So yeah, I mean, and it's just so great that this vehicle exists. V8 engine, rear wheel drive, loud exhaust, like, you could say a manual transmission in some versions. This is still available in this day and age. And I myself have been talking a lot about EV cars lately and all that kind of stuff, and hydrogen power and PHEVs, and I get the necessity of all those, but the fact that you could still get a proper old school muscle car, that's what this is, on today's market is great for a reasonable amount of money, really. I mean, we talked a little bit before about how much this Challenger costs in this spec here. So, it's still, you can still have a lot of fun for in around 50 grand with all the options. So that's great. I mean, I can't complain too much. Let's have a little bit of a burst. Yeah, that's you really can't complain too much about that kind of acceleration and that kind of noise and power. An actual backseat that can be used for actual people, and plus I've got child anchors back there. So big, huge trunk too, bigger vehicle, probably a better cruiser, better highway cruiser, because there's a little more room. You still got the way cool gauge cluster out here and all that kind of stuff. You still got the tech here, and like the Mustang, the Uconnect system is one of the best. Like the Mustang Sync 3 system, I should say. The Uconnect system is one of the best infotainment systems I find out there. I mean, the Mustang and the Sync 3 and the Uconnect are kind of like neck and neck, I feel, when it comes to the features and the usability of them. So it's got all that. So it's got all that great stuff this Challenger does. And then you've got the Scat Pack Specialist too. But would I have the Challenger over the Mustang? Well, in a perfect world, I'd have both. These both have a spot in my dream car garage. I love the rear wheel drive. I love the V8 power. They're both really, really good muscle/pony cars. No question about it. But if I had to choose one, I think I'd still choose the Mustang, mainly because you can really tell, as I kind of alluded to before, that it's built and developed from the ground up as a sports car, muscle car, pony car, whatever you want to call it, whereas this Challenger has to share its platform with, the Charger and the 300, and so I think you can't fully disguise that when it comes to the Challenger, but it is awesome still. It's still really, really good at what it's meant to be good at, and that's like just being loud, noisy, and fun to drive. So there you have it on that front. So thanks for tuning into this video of the 2020 Dodge Challenger Scat Pack Widebody, long name, cool car. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do. If not, of course, no hard feelings. Follow me on Twitter at Dan the Wheelman, and on Instagram at Dan the Wheelman as well. So thanks for tuning into this video, and until next time, sayonara, folks. Woo!